Once we have our knife picked, we're gonna have to sharpen it, right? But the cheapest way to sharpen your knife is easily just a piece of sandpaper. You can get this at any big box store, and it'll take you where you need to go as far as the sharpness goes. But you see, if we put this down and we're just kind of sandpapering our knife, there's no reference edge. We need a reference edge to make this edge flat. So a great way to do that, and a cheap way, is a piece of glass. You can get this at any car, like glass place, Home Depot, Lowe's, they sell it too. But the sandpaper just sits on top, and we slide our knife edge over. Once we do that a couple times, and I'll get more into that shortly, we can switch this out for a finer grit of sandpaper and then polish out the scratches that we made here. Sharpening is just taking finer and finer polishing agents and creating those two lines to come together as crisp as we possibly can. Sandpaper is one way to do it. But ultimately, you're going to be ripping through a lot of sandpaper, and it's not going to be the most cost-effective means to do it. So you can go out onto the market and buy some sharpening stones. There's lots to talk about there. You have oil stones, water stones, diamond stones, but they all do the same thing that the paper does. I want to show off a diamond stone because I find that they're a little bit more expensive, but they last forever, so that's why we recommend those to people. This is a duo sharp setup, and it has two. One side is coarse, and if you pop it out and put the other one, then the other side is fine. So the way we start sharpening our knife, we assume that it's just super dirty, and we have to polish the edge. So at a microscopic level, so we have our polished edge that way. When it gets dull, we have more of a rolled edge. So it's like that, and that's why it doesn't cut as well. Or it'll roll the other way. So we have to polish this roll back to this triangular, sharp intersecting lines. And one of the reasons why I like Scandinavian grinds is because it's so easy to sharpen. There's two edges, and so all you do is put your knife flat, lift up to that bevel, and then slide like you're taking the finest shaving that you possibly can. And as you see, I move to the edge and I pick up the knife a little bit so that I'm resting on this whole line. If you're worried about you're not doing it right, you can take a Sharpie, mark your edge. You can rock up and then slice, and you see it's starting to remove that black Sharpie mark that I made. Once all of that's done, you can then switch to the other side and do the same thing. But we want to be really careful in that we're taking the same number of strokes. So if we do 10 on this side, we want to do 10 on this side, bringing it back this way. And that's slowly starting to push this back. So now instead of having like this, we might have like an even less of a thing, you know? But it's still a burr, and as we polish more, we're going to do that. But see, I started with 10 stripes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I do it 10 times this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's great. But the next step, I'm going to do it 9 times. So we do 9 times this way, then 9 times this way. 8 times this way, 8 times this way. 7 times, and all the way down to 1. Now you're going to have a pretty nice cutting edge. But it's not going to be as sharp as we can possibly get it unless we drop to the fine side. We'll do the same thing, 10 this way, 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way down to 1. And that's going to give us a pretty sharp edge.